Oh, hello. It's been 12 years since I started this YouTube channel as of this month, and it's time to get nostalgic with you because, boy, has it been a journey. When I first started this YouTube channel, it was 2012, and I was in Hollywood trying my hand at a career in acting, and I was very frustrated. I've talked about this on my channel before, but I was frustrated. The only acting I was really doing was in auditions, acting classes, and maybe a play or two. So I had to take things back in my own hands. I had to do something. I started this YouTube channel with a little show that was like a mockumentary. It was called Jaded Actor.
You know, the reason I'm shooting this is I spontaneously decided I'm going to start a YouTube channel. Because why not? You know, I think I'm frustrated by the 15% of the time that I'm, it's hard driving and talking at the same time, but, last day in LA before I go back home for like a month because being here stresses me out. This place is smelly. It's dirty. Smelly and dirty.
It's a show where I was vlogging my day, but I added a little bit of spice. I made it a little bit funny. You know, it's kind of like a cross between a skit and a vlog.
Some guy just bumped into me in LA the day before I leave. I'm totally not going to report anything. I just want to say hi. Say hi to the camera. No? There's a lot of people who believe in me. A lot of people who see passion and talent. You tell me I'm going to make it, you just got to be patient. But you hear that enough, and enough things don't happen, you start to go crazy.
And I did that for a while, and it was really great. It felt good. It felt so good making things again, something where I didn't have to ask permission to make it. That was like, it was sort of life-changing. But it's interesting, as I was doing it just for fun and getting my creative life back in order, by the 4th or 5th episode, I booked my first major role in a Disney show called Kickin' It, which I've talked about enough on here. I only bring it up to bring up the fact that it's like the instant I started getting creative and putting videos out and getting back in touch with that side of me, things started happening.
Well, I just woke up in St. Louis to hear that I got the part of the Prince on Kickin' It guest starring role.
After I got that initial part on Kickin' It, I learned that I was going to return for a second episode where I play a much more substantial role. I was going to be playing an undercover spy, and I had heard that the writing staff on Kickin' It was watching my YouTube channel to get inspiration for that character. So what did I do? I made an episode of Jaded Actor where I play an undercover spy. I was basically preparing for a role that wasn't even written yet, because I knew the writing staff would be watching that. So trippy thinking back to that time.
Feel the evidence. Hear it. Taste it.
You would think this would make me go even harder with my YouTube channel, but what did I learn from this? Well, I went on to make videos every day, and I got huge on here, and I'm just totally kidding. No, what happened, I did something very stupid. I got that role on Disney, and I said, well, I don't need YouTube anymore. And I left for like, I don't know, 3 years or more, and didn't really touch this channel for a long time. That was so stupid, because like, you know, the thing about YouTube is, I remember back in 2012, it was really big, but people were just starting to come up, and I guess I don't know what I think a lot of us didn't know what we had on YouTube. It's basically the biggest platform in the whole world right now, but back then it was still something that was, oh, it's just YouTube, you know, no big deal. Hollywood's where it's at, which I've learned, you know, it's really not the case. You know, YouTube is the best place, but I was stupid, I was young, I was naive, but years go by, I shift into filmmaking, and I went on to make 3 feature films on an indie level, and it was great. So when I come back to YouTube years later, I do this sort of douchey filmmaker thing. I just put behind the scenes and trailers for my movies on YouTube, you know, sort of like a dumping ground. And I think a lot of filmmakers do this. It's a mistake. It's sort of like, oh, I'll just use it to promote my films. But, you know, that's an impersonal thing to do unless you can make content about it for the rest of your life, which usually you can't after just making, you know, 1 or 3 movies. So that's what I did. I talked about my movies, behind the scenes, trailers, whatever. And then I would go away between each movie. Between each movie, I would leave YouTube and really not post anything. Well, I found out that when I look back at it, it takes like 2 years each movie of my life. So if you're posting, only when you make a movie, that's a 2-year gap between each movie. And that's just like, how can you build a community that way? Well, I wasn't thinking that way. I wasn't too smart about it, but whatever. 2020, as of this date, my third and last feature film was made. It was time to promote it on YouTube, but I started learning something. Well, first of all, it was the pandemic, and everyone was stuck inside. There were no film festivals to go with this movie. I had done a Kickstarter, a successful Kickstarter for this movie called Mandeo Returns. It's part of a 2-movie series called Mandeo of the Dead and Mandeo Returns. It's about time travel. And I raised money, and I thought, wow, this sequel is going to be bigger than the modest indie success of the first movie. And what do you know? It's the pandemic. No film festivals. Everyone's stuck inside. And the movie sort of just flatlined. Yes, people showed up to fund the movie, but I was left with the fact that people who had stuck with YouTube had built big audiences because they were seeing their audience like, I don't know, multiple times a week or, every week. And it was a consistent thing where they've built communities up. And here I am with a movie that takes 2 years to really see all the way through. And I was like, movies take too long. They take too long to connect with anyone, especially on an indie level when you don't have millions of dollars of marketing money. Like you have to connect with an audience. I decided, okay, that's it. I'm back on YouTube, this time for real. I'm committing to it. I'm going to upload every week or so. So I started doing sketch comedy. Oh, hello. My name is Richard Cilantro, and I'm going to read you a bedtime story. Ever make plans and rejoice when they get canceled? Do your parents say you should work with Spielberg as if that's on the table? Ever realize you peaked in junior high? And it went all right. I made some funny stuff with my wife while we were stuck inside. We did a skit a week. If you look on my channel, you won't see the upload schedule as it appeared back then. I've taken all those videos and put it into one movie called Bad TV. That's where all those sketch comedy videos went. But I learned at least to be consistent there. But I also didn't want to be a sketch comedy guy, So I kept exploring. My journey kept moving on. Eventually, I also vlogged a little bit in this time. So you can see this is sort of just a mishmash of content that I was learning from during this time. I was like, okay, what can I do that's more consistent, that's more like what I want to do? I've been a movie lover since I was a kid. Seriously, like I love talking about it. I love watching them. I love making them. So I was like, okay, I can make, maybe like a documentary or a video essay about one of my favorite movies, probably my favorite movie in the whole wide world, which is Back to the Future. I love that series. So I made this video called The Chaotic Past of Back to the Future. And at first it didn't really do that well. But over time it started growing and growing. It gave me a lot of subscribers. It's, and to this day it's made like a few 100,000 views. And that got me started. It sort of was my first real wave of subscribers on this channel. And I've made a bunch of videos in this thing I call special features, which is just like a video essay series, sort of a docu-series on my favorite movies from the past. And it's great, but it was one where I would narrate off screen. So sit back, relax, grab a milk, chocolate, and let's go back to the future. And eventually I was like, all of a sudden along my way, along this journey of making videos, I was like a faceless YouTube channel. And it didn't really feel like the you in Tube, I was just some guy talking about movies, which is fun, but I wanted more. I wanted to build a community, and I wanted to get on camera again because, during the pandemic, I don't know if you want to call it, we were all locked away at the time, and I felt like I didn't even want to show my face anymore. I guess maybe I felt like a failure in terms of a filmmaker and an actor, and I just was like, I don't need to show my face. I actually felt a lot of comfort making these videos about my favorite movies and not having to show my face. You know, I'd go into a dark closet because it had a bunch of clothes in it and it had the best sound. And I would just talk about my movies and read a script that I wrote. And it felt comfortable. It felt comfortable. I was like, I don't think I even want to show my face anymore. But I realized something. This channel's called Scotty Dunn, right? So I decided to, I think I pushed myself in front of the camera again because I wanted to broaden the topics I would talk about. This channel's still very much about movies and pop culture, but I like being in front of the camera, taking you on a journey of nostalgic things, funny things. And one of the coolest things is I see some of the same people coming back in the comment section of my videos, and that feels like my community. It feels like, you know, I consider them like friends in a way, you know, even though I haven't met most of them. It's really cool. And like, that's one of the things I learned about YouTube. It's a really cool way of connecting with people. And I feel like I learned more making YouTube videos consistently than I did making movies every other year. So if you're starting your own YouTube channel, here's some things I've learned along the way. Be consistent. And don't just be consistent because you feel like you have to or because an algorithm is demanding you to. Be consistent because it takes a lot of practice to find your groove on here sometimes. At least that's been my story. Being consistent gives you, it's like lifting creative weights, you know? It gets you like used to doing this. And the routine of making videos for YouTube, it's made me a better filmmaker. It's made me a better content creator, whatever you want to call it. It's made me better. It's given me my 10,000 hours and I feel so good doing it. I can't imagine my life, you know, not being on here. Let's talk about subscribers for a moment. Like, after 12 years, I'm still under 10,000 subscribers, and that's okay. But it's a slow growth. And one thing I got to tell you is that I only started growing after I got consistent. Also, I started thinking about my audience more. I thought, okay, let's not just talk about, you know, movies I've made. I want to talk about movies that people love or talk about things that people want to talk about. I started thinking about my audience more. You know how people say like YouTube has changed my life, and it sounds kind of cheesy, and they have the thumbnails that say just start. But you know what? Okay, yes, I make fun of those thumbnails, but like you just should start, especially if you're a creative person and you want to express yourself. Just start. You never know where it leads, even if it doesn't go anywhere in terms of views and subscribers. Like I'm still doing this with like under 10,000 subscribers, and I wouldn't change a thing, because like just let this YouTube journey take you somewhere and you'll grow. You will grow as a person. Like that's what I found personally. You know what I mean? Like I can't recommend it enough. So this has been my YouTube origin story. I would love to know your YouTube origin story. How long have you been on here? Just like share your story in the comment section. I think we should all hear each other's stories. And as always, see you next time.